As you would know, if you want to build a home or renovate at home, it's a major investment, sometimes the most important investment anyone can make. So it's important that we have an industry, a building industry that is regulated properly and people have confidence in. And I'd like to introduce with me today Michael McGowan from the HIA, and he'll have a few words to say later on. So one of the things that's come out recently, like we had the Inspire Homes issue, where Inspire Homes were still trading, but we had some concerns about their financial sustainability. But the building regulators did not have the powers to compel Inspire Homes to hand over their financial records. That could only be done at registration time or renewal or registration. So today we are announcing that we'll be introducing legislation that will provide the power for the building commissioner and also the building board to compel the delivery of financial records of any builder. So there will be a show cause notice to hand over financial records. The regulator can also then impose special conditions attached to the registration. And as I said, the building commissioner can also compel the delivery of documents to help to ensure that we have confidence in the builders that are out there. This is incredibly important for those that are seeking to engage builders, and it's important for the building industry. Now, most of our builders are doing a great job, but as we know, in recent years, there's been some that have gone under, and it has a major financial and social impact on those that are affected. Along with those immediate legislative changes, I'm also announcing that we'll be conducting a 12-month review of the home building contract legislation that governs the building industry in Western Australia, and that's going to be led by my Parliamentary Secretary, the Honourable Dan Caddy, MLC. This is all about ensuring that we can provide confidence to customers, to ensure that the good builders are not tarnished by those that are not so good, and that the regulators have the power to ensure that we have a system that is sustainable and that people can engage in contracts in a manner that they can have confidence. So can I first hand over to Michael, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Minister. Michael McGowan, Executive Director, HIA WA. We welcome today's announcement by the Minister and the WA Cook Labor Government to review the Home Building Contracts Act and the way that it's operated here in Western Australia, which has been the same way since 1991 and well overdue for a review. We also acknowledge that a number of builders and consumers have had a really challenging 4 or 5 years, and that the increase in powers of the Building Commissioner and the Building Commission allow for a path for both builders and consumers to get through the challenges that they're facing, whether that be financial or production on site, in a safe way that can be determined and provide a suitable outcome for both consumer and builder. As the Minister said, nobody wants to see builders on the front page of the paper, and this is seen as a positive way forward to being able to address some of those concerns that have been raised over the last 4 or 5 years.
Michael, is it as far as the industry is concerned, is it their way out of a situation where the industry was embarrassed, or the industry seemed to be damaged by some of those bad builders?
I think 99% of our builders in the industry are good, hard-working builders that have managed to navigate a really tricky set of circumstances. I think we were all a little bit surprised that the Building Commissioner didn't have the ability to be able to address some of the challenges that the industry's faced over the last 4 or 5 years, and we welcome this change in being able to do that in a manner that's safe and secure for both the builder and the consumers.
Any concern that extra red tape or compliance measures will add to costs and the time pressures on builders already?
As I said, I think this will be used in very extenuating circumstances, and I think 99% of the building industry should have nothing to worry about. The measures that are being outlined today are for those that aren't able to meet their financial obligations and are in a serious amount of trouble. So for most of the builders, it should be business as usual.
The review, what are you actually see it's not fit for purpose with the way that home contracts are set up?
The way that we build houses now has changed dramatically since 1991. There's a lot more people involved in the home building process. So the modernisation of the timeframes that are involved, obviously through COVID we've seen a lot of challenges in regards to price escalation and how to manage that between both the builder, consumer and the financial institutions. And also the dispute resolution process has changed significantly since 1991. So there's a wide-ranging review that the Minister's announced, and we look forward to participating in that and providing our feedback.
Minister, how long will it take to get those legislative changes through? Because obviously you would see some urgency.
Well, we do. We would hope that we can legislate or bring legislation into Parliament in the next few months. Obviously, it has to be drafted and then has to go through both houses of Parliament. We aren't the masters of that, and particularly in the upper house, but obviously we want to do it as soon as possible. Can I just add to what Michael just said? I used the example of Spire Home. Yeah, I mean, we are in a difficult situation, a silly situation where the regulators could not go to a builder and compel them to prove that they were financially stable. So this is why this is incredibly important. Now, to the question that Jess asked of Michael, yeah, there is a balancing act between red tape and proper regulation. So that's the point of the review. There may be things that come out of the review that reduce red tape. We just want to ensure that we have a sensible regulatory system that provides sufficient confidence in the industry, which is going to be good for builders and it's also going to be good for consumers.
You mentioned Inspired Homes. Was niche living another case in point that has triggered this?
Well, it's obviously there's been a number of builders over the last few years. Of course, niche living have been a high-profile collapse. That wasn't good for anyone that was involved who was having a home built by them. But I became Commerce Minister. On the day that I became Commerce Minister, I was sworn in as Commerce Minister, I actually had a meeting with the Premier and a group of Inspire Home hope-to-be owners, and that was really what triggered the need for these changes in regulation. We could not compel Inspire Homes to hand over any financial records.
Niche living was the same, was it not? Because niche living was able to game that system to the point where you had to strike a deal that got them off the hook for about $30 or $40 million.
Well, I wasn't the minister at the time, so look, that of course was not a situation that we would want. It was not a situation that the customers wanted. We need to move on from that, and we now also have had the Inspire Home situation. So we believe these announcements that we made today, in regards to legislative reform, will provide the necessary powers that the regulator needs, but also the review that is going to happen over the next 12 months. We want to hear from builders, we want to hear from customers, we want to hear from other interested parties what they think should happen in regards to that legislative change to the home building contract system that we have in Western Australia.
So ultimately for the consumer, the beefed up powers, that means they can access home indemnity insurance quicker than what those customers did.
Well, Hamish, good question. That may be the case if we are able to step in, or the regulator, not we as a government, if the regulator is able to step in to show that the builder should not be trading, then of course it allows people to obviously benefit from the home insurance indemnity scheme.
Will it be quick enough though? I mean, by the point you compel financial disclosures, and then if it's evident that they're unable to trade, by then it's already too late.
No, it's not necessarily too late. The point is, at the moment, we don't even have those powers. We're not saying that these legislative changes will be a panacea to all the woes of the building industry, but as I said, the building industry generally is a very sound industry. We have majority of builders that are building quality homes, they are sustainable. We just want to ensure that those that aren't are not in the system. So the sooner we can break into that system and ensure that those that are not financially viable, that would not be able to finish the homes, as soon as the regulator to intervene in that, that will be for the good. No, of course there's going to be some time delay, but we can't, the point is we've got to ensure there's that balancing act between regulation and allowing the builders to work in a manner that doesn't increase the cost phenomenally. So we need to have a system that is a common sense system, and we believe that what we announced today is a right balance, and more importantly, it's providing the regulators, the building industry regulators, with powers that they do not currently have.
Why didn't you, I know you mentioned before there was a meeting, the first meeting as Commerce Minister that triggered this, but why, given the high profile nature of the niche living saga, why didn't your government promise anything at the election to act on the weak powers of the Commission?
Well, all I'm saying is that I was sworn in on that day. I had a meeting that the Premier promised in the election campaign that one of the first things he would do would have a meeting with those prospective Inspire home owners. He honoured that commitment, and we listened to them, and we've made these measures today.
Minister, the coroner has just delivered an open finding into the suspected murder of Lisa Darby, noting...
Sorry, louder.
The coroner has just delivered an open finding into the suspected murder of Lisa Darby, noting the fight for home sale is a major obstacle in solving the case. The government may consider upping the reward money to compel someone...
Look, first I've heard of the news, and I'm not in a position to be able to comment on that today, because I don't know anything further about that.
When do you hope to have these laws?
As soon as possible. They've got to be drafted, the process is commenced, and we'll introduce it in the department as soon as we possibly can. Of course, we're in winter recess now, and we'll try and get them through both houses of the parliament as soon as possible.
Do you have an idea of how the powers to compel will work? As in, will there be hefty fines if they don't comply? What time period will they be given to comply, etc.?
They'll be all part of the legislative framework that we will be engaged with the industry and also the parliamentary drafters of the legislation.
This is, the Building Commission did examine niche living's finances, and it ended up in the SAT, but they found there were millions of dollars in a hole. This was disputed through the court system. So niche living was able to frustrate that process all the way along, till finally they agreed to a settlement. I mean, is this what this is supposed to overcome?
It definitely supposed to overcome the situation where we have builders that are financially insolvent, that shouldn't be trading, shouldn't be putting the customer under an incredible stress, the major investment in their lives. We want to ensure that we have a regulatory system that allows the regulator to obtain that financial information as soon as possible, if there is reasonable cause to have concern.
Is there a double up of powers here with ASIC? Should ASIC be doing more?
No, ASIC has their own, they're a federal organisation, and they deal with many issues. They have certain powers, but they're not going to always be concerned about what's happening in Perth. We believe as a WA government we have this responsibility and obligation to the taxpayers and the homeowners and prospective homeowners in Western Australia. All right, got to get to this.
Thanks,
Okay.
Michael.
No worries. Thank you.